All right, guys, welcome back to Unit 1, Part 2. And let's talk about more investigations here. Industrial espionage and industrial espionage investigation. All suspected industrial espionage cases should be treated as criminal investigations. Yeah, because severity of the matter, regardless of what it is, will usually be criminal when it comes to industrial espionage. This also kind of, depending on the industry, I'm thinking mostly of defense industry, can be considered a matter of national defense. Anyways, staff needed digital investigator who is responsible for disk forensic examinations, technology specialist who is knowledgeable of the suspected compromised technical data, network specialist who can perform log analysis and set up network sniffers, threat assessment specialist, typically an attorney, so like a computer attorney. That's already 4 people, maybe 5 if you want to rope in the manager who, or director rather, manager, who's overseeing the whole case as a whole. So it's about 5, 6 people already that have to look through this whole thing and rely on the digital investigator. So, moving on. Guidelines when initiating an investigation. Determine whether this investigation involves a possible industrial espionage incident. So that's the one thing you have to prove, essentially, without a shadow of a doubt. Consult with corporate attorneys and upper management. You're going to talk to them to figure out what they want you to look for. Determine what information is needed to sustain the allegation. Again, that's what you would find out. Oh, they accessed, a random user access files they shouldn't have access to. How did they get access? That's you'll determine what they saw, what they took, if they copied anything, if it was compromised. Determine what information is needed. Yeah, I just said that. Yeah. Generate a list of keywords for disk forensics and sniffer monitors. So this is where you would talk to the network guy and tell him, hey, did they search for this on the network? Here are the keywords. It could be missile. That's common in the defense industry. I'm just trying to think of something. Same of a hidden project. Let's call it Homer 5. Did they look up Homer 5 constantly? Did they look up Home 5? Did they look up H5? Anything that has a similar abbreviation that will lead to it. Things like that. That would also be searched for on the disk. If you clone it twice and rudimentally search the allocated and unallocated areas for it, et cetera, et cetera. List and collect resources for the investigation. What are you going to be using? What are you going to be looking through? Things like that. Determine goals and scope of the investigation. So how much ground do you want to cover in this investigation? Do you just want to search the hard drive? Okay. Do you want to search the guy's web traffic? Okay. You want to search his email? This is what you have to figure out. Initial investigation after approval from management. So once you figure out what you want to look at, let your management know, and they will give you this rubber stamp to proceed. I say rubber stamp a lot in terms of go. Applying considerations. Examine the email. I just mentioned that. Search internet news groups or message boards. Yeah, this is becoming more common. Like the Pentagon leak that just happened. Being leaked on Discord just because this guy he wasn't directly working in the sense of he saw the stuff, more along the lines of he worked in the pipeline to make sure that everything went where it had to go from point A to point B. But he, I believe, accessed stuff on the network he wasn't supposed to access. That's why I kind of referenced it. Examine facility physical access logs for sensitive areas. So let's say you're looking for an employee that looked up Homer 5. And this guy's named Bart. Yes, I'm using Simpson names. Okay. You can get access logs for key cards and see where Bart went that day. It's suspected did he ever go near where they house Homer 5? Was he near Maggie 6? I'm just thinking of things off the top of my head. But that's where you will look at that. So planning considerations. Determine suspect location in relation to a variable asset. I just mentioned that. Study the suspect's work habits. So track his day-to-day for a while, see where he goes and what he does. What if he happens to walk by a vending machine? There's like 3 vending machines in the hall. And Homer, ooh, candy. And that's why he got near Homer 5 or Maggie 6 or what have you. Collect all the incoming, outgoing phone logs. Yeah, you can tap the guy's work phone and see what calls he's making. What if he called some really weird number you've never seen, then you find out it's something major. That's what you would do that for. Steps to conduct the industrial espionage case, gather all personnel assigned to the investigation and brief them on the plan. So everyone involved, all 6 people, 12 people, what have you. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to go about doing it. You're in charge of this. You're going to cover this. I'm going to report this. Yada, yada, yada. Gather resources to conduct the investigation. What tools, methods will you use to conduct this? Oh, pardon me. Moving on. So place surveillance systems at key locations. What are you going to look at? From where? From what time? Discreetly gather any additional evidence. Work quietly and diligently. Collect all logs data from networks and email servers. That's easy. They will copy those and give them to you. No problem. Report regularly to management and corporate attorneys. So you just keep them in the loop. Just let them, hey, I'm working on this as far as going, or hey, I'm still working on it. I need a bit more time. Again, keep them informed, keep them happy. The less grumpy they are, the better off you look. Review the investigation scope with management and corporate attorneys. So you go over like, hey, here's what we're covering, right? You want to make sure of it. This is as far as you've gotten, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Moving on. So interviews and interrogations. So that's fun. And high-tech investigations. Got a lot of eyes on that one. Becoming a skilled interviewer and interrogator can take many years of experience. Yeah, this is stuff you don't learn overnight, guys. It takes years of practice. Usually conducted to collect information from a witness or suspect about specific facts related to the investigation. Don't worry, guys. I'm not going to have you interrogate anybody. I'm sorry if that's what you're hoping and wishing for. I'm not here to have you interrogate your neighbor about why they tried to access your Wi-Fi, or why the food delivery person tried to get to your guest Wi-Fi. That's not what we're here for. Process of trying to get a suspect to confess. That's the whole point of interrogating, right? Role of a digital investigator: to instruct the investigators, conducting the interview on what questions to ask and what the answer should be. So, hey, why were you trying to get to my network? Oh, I connected by accident. That's not what you want. You want to find out, well, they were trying to buy something from eBay, hypothetically. That's why they needed Wi-Fi, because they're out of data on their phone. Cool. That's the answer you want to get out of. That's my point. Ingredients for a successful interview interrogation. Man, it sounds like you're baking an interrogation pizza here. Being patient throughout the session. Yeah, you got to be patient. This stuff takes time. You don't, find everything out just in one go. Repeatable questions early on specific facts from a reluctant witness or suspect. So how can you ask the same question twice without it sounding the same? So I'm gonna give you a hypothetical of you asking someone, hey, did you go to the park today? How could you rephrase, hey, did you go to the park? Or did you go to the park? Hey, did you do anything outside today? Were you near, let's say there's a lake, were you near Lake Swan? If they had a Lake Swan in that park, that's how you would know he went to the park. Again, that's how you figure it out. Being tenacious. Sure, you can be as tenacious as you want, just don't be overzealous. Going on. So let's talk about understanding data recovery workstation software a little bit. Investigations are conducted on a computer forensic lab or data recovery lab. I mentioned lab a bunch of times. I'm gonna mention lab for the rest of the class. Don't worry. And if you've gotten this far in this video, I applaud you. In data recovery, the customer or your company just wants the data back. True. In forensics, especially configured PC, your work PC, loaded with additional bays and forensic software. Why would you have additional bays? In case you need to hook up the clone stuff, look at it. That's why you have additional bays. Or you would have an external like hard drive bay. I usually call it a toaster, where you put it in and slot it in. To avoid altering evidence used, write blocker devices. And when you're boot to Windows without writing data to evidence device. Yeah, when you plug in a flash drive, it'll let you, or hard drive, it'll let you figure that out. Might make that web. I'll think about it. Basic requirements: a workstation running Windows 7. That should say Windows 10 now. A write block device. It's easy. Digital forensic acquisition tool. You have two of them after you've done all the labs. Digital forensic analysis tool. You'll have those two. Target drive to receive source of suspects disk data. So the extra drive you put in, clone that drive, put it there. Spare PATA or SATA ports. Now it's mostly SATA. Even SATA is going away. It should say M.2 or NVMe. Excuse me. USB ports are still common. Those are not going anywhere. Additional useful items: network interface cards, yeah, external USB ports, FireWire ports. FireWire is more of a Mac thing, but it's still around here and there. A lot of audio, like DJ equipment still uses FireWire with transfer speed and stuff. So you might run into it if you have to like grab FireWire or data off of like audio stations or something. So that would make some sense. SCSI card, yeah, SCSI. SCSI is only the expansion card type that was used way back in the day, up to the mid 90s. It's still around more in government, even though it's kind of phased out, but I won't go there. Disk editor tool, yeah, you'll have that. Text editor tool, you'll have that. Graphic viewer program, you have one built in. Other specialized viewing tools, whatever else is required of you is given to you. It's not like you're flying in blind, okay? So, how do you conduct an investigation? You gather resources identified in the investigation plan. So, what is it you're looking for? What items do you need? What things do you need? Original storage media. So, where did it come from? So, the hard drive of the person. Evidence custody form. You told to that. You fill it out. Yada yada yada. Evidence container for storage media. Secure and safe, right? Bitstream imaging tool. That's where you would copy the data one for one. Excuse me. Forensic workstation to copy and examine your evidence. You will have that in your lab. You will have a workstation. Secure evidence locker, cabinet, or safe. That's just so only you have access to it, or whoever else works with you that's also in digital investigations would have access to it too, but they would write on, you would have a tag on that item and say, I accessed it at this time, and they would write, or I accessed it at this time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, in case if they needed to access it. But that's why if you make the code, excuse me. Oh, I'm just tired, guys. It's Monday. It's been a very heavy day. So if you clone it, you guys can both edit the clone, and as long as you write down what you did, it's fine. And the code can be broken at the end of the day, but as long as you still have the original, you can make a copy of it. Moving on. So here's things you want to do. Sorry, avoid damaging the evidence. That's what I was talking about. Steps. Meet the IT manager to interview him. You got to find out what he knows so he can help you out in terms of what is it you're looking for again? What are we doing with this? Who is it for? Or what do you need it for? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Fill out the evidence forms. Have the IT manager sign. Yes, they got to sign out that you're taking the proper use of evidence. Place the evidence in a secure container. Carry the evidence into the computer forensic lab. Complete the evidence custody form. Secure evidence by locking the container. Bitstream copy, bit by bit copy of original storage medium. Talked about you make backup copies essentially, but they're more exact copy of the original disk. So we just said that. Different from a simple backup copy. Backup software only copies on files. Backup software cannot copy deleted files, email messages, or recovered file fragments. Bitstream image file containing the bitstream copy of all the data or dash partitions known as image or image file. You're essentially copying the hard drive whole, piecemeal. All of it. Nothing's left behind, but even the unallocated space will be copied. Copy image file to target disk that matches the original disk manufacturer size and model. Yeah, like if it's a terabyte, you copy it onto a terabyte. Pretty straightforward, right? Nothing too crazy. Here's what it looks like. In essence, with floppies, which we probably don't know what a floppy is. Create an image transfer each bit of data from the original disk to the same spot on the disk images. That's bit by bit, essentially. If it's a sector 1, guess what? It's copied to sector 1, not sector 4, not sector 8. First rule of computer forensics, preserve the original evidence. Why, you might ask, do you preserve the original evidence? In case your copy goes bad, you can recopy it. Conduct your analysis only on a copy of the data. You don't want to damage the original evidence ever. Why? Because then you're screwed. You're out of luck. Can't do your job. Several vendors provide MS-DOS, Linux, and Windows acquisition tools. Windows tools require a write block device with acquiring data from FAT or NTFS file systems. Yeah, that's pretty true. Your job is to recover data from deleted files, file fragments, complete files. Deleted files linger on the disk until new data is saved on the same physical location. Tools can be used to retrieve deleted files, Autopsy, which you guys should have installed right now. Step to analyze a USB device. Start Autopsy, create a new case, type the case name, select the working folder. It's just step by step on how to do this. Almost there, guys. 12 more slides and half this first lecture is out the window. This is an optional lecture. It's just so you guys kind of get to know how it works. I'm a little all over the place, and I do apologize. When I have a rough day at work, it kind of gets like this. My brain kind of goes off on tangents, like as I am right now speaking about it, because I'm pretty tired. Working in IT is fun, guys. Don't get me wrong, but when you can't even slow down to catch your breath for about 5 minutes and barely have 20 minutes for lunch some days because of the mass email migration that kind of dropped on your lap, it's not exactly the most fun on the planet. Anyways, steps to add source data. Select data source type, select image type, keep the data default settings, the configuration ingest modules window. You will see all this, don't worry. This is just me telling you what it does. Steps to display the contents of acquired data. Click expand views, file types by extension and document, select file to display. You're just picking what you want to see. Click tag and comment. That's where you would say, hey, this is evidence that relates to the case in terms of it has this image in it. Click the new tag name button and you want to call it, tag 4. When you go to display, tag 4 references this, here's an image of tag 4 and what it has in it. Analyze data. Search for information related to the complaint. Yeah. Data analysis can be most time consuming. Yeah, it's when you're just essentially weeding through things. It takes a while. It's not a 5-minute process. You're trying to find essentially a needle in a haystack. So you will find it though. Give it time. Here's what it looks like. Remember case name, Jeffrey, case type, single user, multi-user. That's not something I want to get into just yet. So let's go on to the next slides. There's 10 more slides. Analyzing your digital evidence. With autopsy, you can search for keywords of interest in the case, display the results in a search results window. Click each file in the search result window and examine its content in the data area. Export data to a folder of your choice. That's what I was talking about where you organize it. Search for specific file names. So if you know they were looking at something, like they say we're looking files related to Homer 5, it's called sensors. Look up Homer 5 sensors. You could search for that. Or Maggie 6 with cameras. That's something I'm thinking off the top of my head. Generate a report of your activities. You just generate, hey, I did this, this is what I did, this is what I found, this is what I searched, here's the areas I searched. You would have all that. You would type it up, you wouldn't write it out. Normally when I say write out, guys, think of typing. I just say write out because that's what you're kind of doing with your hands. You're not really writing with pen or paper. Unless you want to take notes that way, then transfer them digitally. That's entirely up to you. I'm not going to judge you or tell you what to do either. Additional features of autopsy: display binary, non-binary, non-printable, data in content viewer. Yeah, here's what a search looks like. Essentially, you would search George. Here's everything that came up under George. So see, because I think it looks like it's one of his emails or a text from something. I'm trying to figure out where it came from. Let's see. We need to meet on the 18th, and because it has George in it, it says that must have been his signature that you sent off when you analyze. So if you analyze, viewing search results found in unallocated drive space. This is what I was talking about when you copy everything. This is why you copy unallocated. This is that fragment of data that could prove the person guilty or not guilty. Here's an email. I highly doubt him having to meet with somebody is considered corporate espionage. That's the point. Laying the case, you need to produce a final report. So here's everything I found. See what you did and what you found. That's literally what I just said. So here's everything I did and what I did, and this is what I found with those results. Include autopsy report and documenting work. You would essentially print this out or make a giant PDF and give it out to who needs to see it. Not everybody, right? Just the manager or the attorney or corporate lawyers, what have you. Repeatable findings. Repeat the steps and produce the same results. Do it twice. Why? If required, use the report template. This way you can just mock it up and dress it up and have it look nice. Your report should show conclusive evidence. So yeah. Suspect did or did not commit a crime or violate commit policy. That's when you're essentially trying to prove or not prove, right? Keep a written journal of everything you do. Your notes can be used in court. This is where you would kind of want to type it out though, but that's just me. Answer the 6 W's. Who did it? What did they do? When did they do it? Where did they do it? Why did they do it? And how did they do it? So who wanted to go to Tahiti? What did they want to do in Tahiti? When did they want to go to Tahiti? Where did they want to go to Tahiti? Why would they want to go to Tahiti? And how were they planning to get to Tahiti? I use Tahiti because of the background. That's just freaking in my head. You must also explain computer and network processes. So you're going to explain that when they searched up Tahiti, it went through this, it went through Google. When they typed it out, this is what came up. And then at the same time on the network, it was doing this and this and this and reaching to this. I'm not going to get into it that much with you guys, but that's essentially how it goes. Can generate reports in different styles: plain text, HTML, or Excel. It should say PDF now, but let's not go there. So remember I said you had to critique the case? Ask yourself the following questions. How could you improve your performance in the case? You're always going to want to improve no matter what you do. You'll have a baseline of how good you are. Then nothing wrong with, having this is how good I am at doing my job. How can I do it better? Did you expect the results you found? Sometimes you know what you're looking for, Well, if this person was doing, let's say, insider trading for stocks, you're going to look for stock data, right? But what if it took a twist and it involved like a murder for hire plot? Were you expecting that? That's what took the case of ways you did not expect. That's something you're not always, but most likely going to see from time to time. Was the documentation as thorough as it could have been? Did you take good notes? Did you follow through? Was everything where it needed to be in terms of what you were searching for? In the sense of, did it make sense? Did what you write down correlate to what you discovered? What feedback has been received from the requesting source? You're going to get feedback no matter what. Like, hey, you did a great job on this, or hey, can you work on this a little more, or hey, that didn't work for what we needed it. Did you discover any new problems? If so, what were they? Like, did you run into any roadblocks? Did you run into headaches? You're going to find headaches no matter what sometimes. You got to learn to work around them. You got to document them for yourself so you know in case you encounter something similar, you can get around it. Did you use new techniques during the case or during research? Yeah, you will develop techniques for you specifically. that help you operate more efficiently. So following it, here's a summary of everything we looked at so far in this chapter. Digital forensics involves systematic accumulating and analyzing data, information for use of evidence in civil, criminal, administrative cases. Investigators need specialized workstations to examine digital evidence. Yes, that's true. Public sector and private sector investigators differ. We've talked about it. Public sector typically requires search warrants before seizing digital evidence. Always use a systematic approach to your investigations. Always plan a case. Take into account the nature of the case requirements, and gathering evidence techniques. Both criminal cases and corporate policy violations can go to court. Mhm. If the violation is big enough in the corporate world, they will get taken to court if it's worth money. Plan of contingencies for any problems you might encounter. Always have a backup plan for the backup plan's backup plan. Always have backup plans. Because hey, you never know. Stuff happens. Life happens. Keep track of chain of custody of your evidence. Keep track of where your stuff goes and where it is and where you have it at all times in terms of evidence. If it's out of bay one, put it back into bay one when you're done. So you don't go searching for it up and down your lab going crazy pulling your hair out. Internet abuse investigations require examining server log data. That's kind of the truth. You're connecting outside to the internet, the whole world. Attorney-client privilege cases, all written communication should remain confidential. A best copy is a bit duplicate. It's just going over the major points of what we just reviewed, guys. So always maintain a journal to keep notes on exactly what you did. So just write down what you're doing as you're doing it. That's your journal or your work tasks. You should always critique your own work because you can always improve. So that's it, guys. That's the end of lecture 1, part 2. This was just an optional thing for you guys to look at. It's just an overview of the course. It will be there. Look at it at your own leisure. Next will be chapter 2, where we dive into the meat of the bones and we really get into it in the sense of what we're going to cover, which I will tell you when we get there. So I'll catch you in the next one, guys. Have a good one. Let me stop this recording as soon as it gives me the chance. I know I'm still talking. Oh, there it is. Like I said, see you in the next one, guys.